welcome. It's a massive pleasure to get Louise Turner on to talk about her new album, Daydreams and Stars. We're joined by Chris. He obviously reviewed the album a few months back, so we're just going on here, massive sort of exclusive, speaking to Louise. So Louise, welcome.
Hello from sunny Salford. It's not so sunny today though, guys. Nah. It's a little bit miserable in Manchester.
Yeah, Manchester's good when it's miserable. That's when it's at its best.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm a winter child, so I do prefer the cold. When it was hot a few weeks ago, I couldn't even bear it. I know you're the same, Chris.
Yeah, when it's hot, you can't wear your good coats, can you? So you need it raining so you can wear your good coats.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm Irish, aren't I? So I'm definitely not, inclined to any hot weather. I just burn and melt in the sun. So.
I'm the same, though. I'm the same. Lovely to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's cool. Obviously, this is something we don't normally do, but do you know what, Louise? The album's been that great. Everybody's loved it. We thought, do you know what? We'll stick an X out and we'll try and do some sort of plug of the album and just have a chat with you and see what's what. So,
fantastic.
So do you want to start things off, Chris? Because obviously you were the guy who reviewed the album.
Well, I think obviously what we'll do is just elaborate a bit more on the first interview that we did, because obviously, a bit's happened since then. So we'll just see how the reaction's been to it and what you took from it and, take you from there. So obviously with the interview, we said it's been 7 years since the Turner EP.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, and you can tell the difference. Obviously you had the band with you doing this album, and how was that having obviously the band around you while you were making this album?
Yeah, it was brilliant because obviously I love collaborating. I obviously had my kind of stint at being solo, which was great, and I could do all the experimental things, but having them musicians with me, just when I took the idea in and they take it somewhere else with you, and being able to collaborate with all these great and wonderful musicians just brings a whole new kind of world to it, really. Because the first EP, it was just me and the producers, and we were literally playing and singing everything by ourselves. And then obviously with this one, I've been able to bring in creative input and get a whole melting pot of different, genres and influences in there.
Well, yeah.
Do you think, sorry, Chris, do you think then your time with like bands of, like Electric Stars, Primal Scream and others that you've worked alongside, do you think that's helped you sort of find your sound, find your sort of area where you want to be? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, I've done so much guesting. It's untrue. I've guested with so many great bands, and I feel so fortunate for that. I've guested, as you said, with I did Elbow, obviously, a song on the Seldom Seen Kids. Yeah. I've guested with Sound of Pop Art. DT Fontana was a massive one. I had some brilliant experiences with them. I was traveling. Yeah, I was travelling literally to Birmingham every week. I was so dedicated to that band. And the guys in the band were fantastic musicians. And just little things like listening to their kind of influences and the way that they brought their music to life. You kind of soak up a little bit from each band, that you've been in. And then you use that into your own project, not necessarily copying anyone, but just taking elements and little bits, Obviously, I worked with Don Farden. From the Sorrows, you did I'm Alive, and that was amazing. We did a wonderful gig in Spain at Euro Yeye Festival. Honestly, it was out of this world, literally, in this village square. One of the best gigs I've ever done. And there's about 10,000 people stood watching, and I just thought, geez, this is absolute. And it toughens you up a little bit, you take a bit from each band. But when it came to this album, obviously, I've done that much with other people. I knew there was something inside of me. It's a bit like when you think you've got a book inside of you, I have this album and all these ideas myself, and I didn't just want to be a backing singer. I wanted to kind of get my ideas out there and share my music, So, but yeah, Johnny, totally. Each band has brought out a little bit, in me on the creative side, and it definitely shows in the album.
Yeah, definitely. It is an amazing album. And I just think the album is it's an up and down album when it comes to emotions and the things which you said it all in the title, Daydreams and Stars, you know what I mean?
Yes, it does. It's almost got two sides to it. Obviously, the Daydreams is all the little whimsical aspects and the more experimental songs. And then the Stars is the pop and the glitz and the glamour. So, I mean, I've had people say to me they've been in tears listening to some of the tracks on there, which just means the world. Not that I want everybody crying while listening to it, but just the heartfelt ones for me, the one about my dad, obviously Miss You. and Stay With Me, and people have said they've actually sat there crying. And you know, when you're creating something like this, you just want people to connect to it. It's from my heart completely. You know, it's not just pop by numbers. It's actually, each song has a little story. So yeah, there's two sides to it. Definitely, there's light and shade. You know.
It's like sorry, Joe.
Go ahead. I just want to sort of elaborate more on what people have thought. I mean, you said there someone was crying this album. So, like, I mean, you've been compared to people like Debbie Harry, Aretha Franklin. I mean, those names just iconic, and to be compared to them must be amazing. So, just tell us a little bit more of what people have said and what sort of reactions been since the album's come out.
Oh, honestly, it's blew me away. As I say, the only hope for me when you make something like this is that people get it and they connect with it. You know, all these songs are obviously from the heart. It's quite vulnerable putting something out like this. You know, it's quite isolated, and it's your stories and your songs. The amount of response I've had has just been overwhelming. As I say, people mentioning that they were so emotional at some of the tracks. Somebody said actually it's almost like a little personal conversation with the listener. The whole album's like a personal chat with, and that's great. That just is exactly what I was after. But as you said, Johnny, being compared to these great people, I mean, God, I can only wish I've got a fraction of the talent they've got. But yeah, I've had comments such as Nancy Sinatra, Dusty Springfield. Someone even said Kirsty MacColl. And Sinead O'Connor, which surprised me, but it's wonderful because these people are just inspirational, strong kind of female songwriters.
I think what for me, listening to it does sort of suck you in a bit, and it makes you feel connected to the lyrics. And like Chris was sort of saying there before, is one track you're like, oh, you can get up, you can have a bit of dance here. Next one comes on, you're like, oh, actually, I need to sit down and just take this in. So it's kind of up and down, like what Chris was saying, you know. And there's so many different flavors and so many different sort of genres sort of rolled into one, which is great. You know, you can hear sort of every sort of one of those artists and influences from them, which is. So do you agree with that, Chris? Do you reckon?
Definitely.
Would you anything more to that?
I think the album's amazing, but then the one song which threw me in a good way was when Clocks came on.
Yes,
that song is so. It's so simple but so clever. It's unbelievable to do it without a single musical instrument in it. It's something else, to be honest with you.
I haven't heard anything like that, and I think that's probably something that a lot of people will say. But it's, you know, if you described that to me and said, Johnny, this is my idea, I'm going to do this track, it's just got a clock in the background, I'd be like, are you mental? Are you mental? Do you know what I mean? But it just works. I totally get it. And how you've done it is just, you know, and obviously who's worked on the song is just what they've done. You can't argue that the proof is there, regardless of how it might sound when you describe it to someone. It just works and it's amazing. So tell us about that track, actually.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, obviously, I think the reason the album's got totally different flavours and feels throughout is because I use lots of different producers, and it wasn't on purpose. I wish I was a genius and had this whole mastermind plan. It kind of happened because I was working with Eve Altana, and he went off touring with Peter Hook, and then I changed to work at Vibe Studios, and I worked with Dean on some of the band songs, and then I worked with a guy called Mike Vindici, who I did The Clock with. And when I went with this idea with Mike, he was a bit like you said, Johnny, a bit like, what? Have you lost your mind? But when I kind of spoke to him more about it and he understood where I was coming from, it kind of all came to life, and Mike was on the same page as me. But yeah, literally, it's me doing all the instruments. So all the bass that you hear is me doing the bass notes with my voice, all the little, I don't know if you hear the witchy vocals in the background on some parts, and obviously all them little bits. So it literally is Clocks and myself doing all these different layers of vocals. And it was such great fun to work on. It was one of my favourites to work on. It took us ages with all the vocal files because there was that many different harmonies, different layers. And it was crazy, but it was such a great session. And as you say, people say that song comes on and stops me in the tracks. When I'm listening to the album, I think, what is this? But then, you know, in a good way, I hope, thankfully.
I think, 10 seconds in, you're like, hold on, what's this? And then you're like, oh my God, you know, so I mean, and you know, so that's definitely one of the tracks I think that stood out for me.
Yeah, I love Kate Bush. I'm a massive Kate Bush fan, and I love her theatrics because I studied. I'm a bit of a not a diva. What's the word? I'm a bit of a thespian. I did musical theatre at college, so I love all the musicals, and some of that is in my songwriting almost because I love melodies. I love Stephen Sondheim and all the great kind of musical theatre writers. So Kate Bush has got that kind of drama in her music, as well as David Bowie and people like that. And I love that whole side of like, you know, using the theatrics into music as well.
Do you think? I mean, I'd love to just see a video of that track. Is that something that we expect? Because I think just with the song, it needs a video to bring it to life, doesn't it?
Yeah. You know? I'm in the middle at the moment of arranging a few different videos because I've got the one for the clock. I want it to be, you know, perfect for the song because the song is so kind of wacky that I'd love to do like a really creative video for that one, as well as Mr. Know-It-All. There's a few kind of standout tracks I think that people seem to be gelling more to, and they seem to be the more experimental ones like Masquerade, Mr. Know-It-All, The Clock, Stay With Me. And so, videos are definitely on the way to all of those.
Was it? I believe was Clock's not meant to be on it. Was that one of the last ones you put on?
Yes, it was. Thanks for reminding me, Chris. Sorry about that. It wasn't meant to be on the album. I literally had, to be honest, I had 12 songs to begin with. But at the beginning of 2020, I went in for an operation. So I was in lockdown before lockdown happened with COVID. So due to finances and everything else and COVID, I couldn't afford to obviously, I wasn't able to go in the studio with the lads. So I thought, what can I do to finish this album off? I need 2 more tracks. So The Clock and Mr. Know-It-All weren't supposed to be on there at all. And I literally thought, right, I'll do them too. And they were brand new. So I went in with Mike Vindici and we just finished them off together and did all the instrumentation. And I'm so glad I included them now. It's like it was kind of meant to be, you know.
I like it. Mr. Know-It-All was another track. I mean, we're probably going back and forth here, but we'll just wing it like we said. Mr. Know-It-All was another track that stood out for me because it was one of those ones that was sort of women empowering, and it was kind of like, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, tell us about the track. I mean, that's how I felt about it. I mean, I know I'm not a woman, obviously, but I was just feeling like this is very sort of influential, and some young woman who's watching this will feel some sort of connection to the lyrics. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it's obviously I wanted to kind of include quite a few serious subjects within the album, and Mr. Know-It-All is quite dark. Obviously, it's about coercive control. And being kind of manipulated and controlled by a person. So it's got the serious storyline behind it, but it's all about how you can kind of break free, that you've got your own voice, you know. And like you say, Johnny, it's about empowering women and girls and just giving the message out there, you know, because it's such a obviously awful thing that these women go through when they're in that situation. It's all about strength and kind of empowerment, really, you know.
Yeah,
I think, and probably Chris will agree with this. I mean, I have a young daughter, and that's the sort of music that I want my young, you know, when she grows up into teenager, to listen to. I mean, you see so much today where it sort of sexualizes women in a way, and you know, in today's music. So it's nice to have that sort of positive, you know, what's the word? Like positive outlook on a track, or an artist sort of saying this is kind of something that's beneficial. You know what I mean? So
exactly. That's it. Give me that any day over. Yeah. Give us that.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? I'm not really saying it the right way.
Miley Cyrus gives us.
I didn't want to name drop Chris, but
no.
I was just about to mention the X Factor, but I'll leave it.
We can talk about the X Factor, right? Yeah, but you know, it's that positive outlook for women, you know, and especially with today with young girls and social media and all that, you know. So I think that's great. We can, you know, there's that great positive message in there rather than tracks all about sex and body image and blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean?
That means a lot. And like I say, I didn't just want to do an album that was throwaway, you know, music by number. I wanted to include some serious subjects in there, and if it kind of helps one girl who's listening to it, then that means the world to me, you know. And another one as well, which has got quite a serious undercurrent and vibe, is Here I Am. Although it sounds quite jangly and, you know, poppy, it's all about being a woman in the music industry, because it's a tough place to be at times, and it's all about obviously standing up to the music man and the guys who are, well, I have a lot of good experiences with guys, don't get me wrong, I don't want to, because obviously a lot of my kind of people who've inspired me and kind of helped me along the way have been men. My dad had a wonderful guy called Noel in my life, who's not with us anymore, but he inspired me, and they always believed in me. So I've had a lot of kind of good guys, but like I say, Here I Am is all about kind of being yourself, and if they don't accept you for being yourself, then
I think with the music industry, especially for women anyway, it's all about image, isn't it? And I think that's what sort of clouds the fact that, especially the music. I mean, maybe not so much no more now, but it's kind of like you have to have that look, you have to have that image. And to me, it doesn't matter. If it sounds good, I don't care. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think women do feel that pressure to look good, even outside of the music industry, all around social media. But, it doesn't matter. I think a lot of people do focus on that.
They do, I do. And when you look at, obviously, the greats of the past, you look in the 60s and the 70s, and everybody was really kind of different. You've got Debbie Harry, then you've got, Joni Mitchell, or you've got Aretha. You've got all these different people who are so different, but their talent is absolutely wonderful. So for me, this whole kind of, you've got to look like this, you've got to sound like this, it's wrong. There's so many great artists out there who aren't being given the chance to kind of blossom and shine. But hopefully it'll change now that Simon Cowell's cancelled the X Factor. Hopefully,
And do you know what? I think people are under pressure as well to put out tracks that they know, it's that market in it. They know this is going to sell. They know people, young people are going to pick this up, and it's nice to sort of come across an artist that's going, well, actually, no, I'm going to put out what I want and what I like from the influences I want. And if people don't like it, then so what? But if they love it, then brilliant. And I think that's you've definitely nailed it, because everybody I've spoken to, or I've listened to the album, I mean, family and friends, they'd be like, this is amazing. Why is this person? And that goes for a lot of the bands that obviously I interview or review on Mods of Generation. Like, why are these bands not on the charts? Why are they not up there with? And it's because it's not that stuff that will sell, but it's the stuff that's good that people want to listen to. Exactly. When they open their minds up and go, actually, I don't want to hear this force-fed bollocks anymore. First swear word out of the day.
Johnny.
So that's I think you've nailed it, and I think that's what we need in the music industry. Do you know what I mean? What do you say, Chris?
I totally agree with you, mate. But I was actually having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were saying that music's shite these days. Second swear word. And it's your turn next, Louise. And
no, it's not. I'm good girl.
And I just said no. I said what it is you're listening to the radio rather than going out and finding. Because there's so much great music about, but people expect it to be on the radio, but it's not going to be. It's not going to be on the radio. You need to go out and find it. It's so much great music out there, like yourself, Louise. Obviously Electric Stars. Loads of other bands, Savannah, UK. There's loads of great bands out there that are featured on Mods of Generation. So people get on it.
I mean,
definitely.
I think as well, I'm not going to change the world. I'm not going to change what people buy and whatever. But I think if we have a small sort of mark in somewhere, and someone discovers a band on Mods of Generation, then brilliant. That's one point to the mass music industry. Do you know what I mean? I think that, so you're never going to be, but I suppose doing this, it's highlighting there is good music out there. You just got to find it. You got to come to Mods of Generation. You got to check out the website and get there. But tell us about.
I would say. Go on, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish off.
No, I was just going to say, I always feel like I was born in the wrong kind of time, just in terms of music, because obviously my dad brought me up with kind of Buddy Holly, Billy Fury, Elvis, Roy Orbison, all the great females as well. It's more like the 60s stuff, obviously, but I feel like kind of if it was back then and I had this album, things were a little bit easier, although there was still really talented people then. It was easier in a way of you had a chance. People would give you a development deal or nurture the talent. Now you don't get offered anything like that. If you can't have a kind of number one, or it's more singles now anyway. You've got to have single after single, hit after hit. But I do feel sometimes I was born in the wrong time. There, quite deep.
And I think with that, it, you know, goes back to sort of helping artists and bands out. Is like it's harder now. You can't. It's harder to obviously get a record deal, but there's so many other platforms that you can put your music onto. And I suppose that's a good or a bad thing because people will hear it, but it's harder to sort of hit that sort of level of keep moving up that ladder, innit?
Yeah.
Well, it's like now people put music out, and it's basically just so you can put it out on the, you know, streaming sites or whatever, and they just release. Like I think Ed Sheeran had about 6 singles in the top 10 at one time, and it's just unreal. But it's like one thing, like with your album, Louise. Your album isn't made to be streamed. It's an album. When you get it, you buy it, you hold it, and when you look at it, it's not just about the music; it's everything that goes with it. You know, exactly, there we go. It's a piece of art. It's something that you hold, and when you listen to the music, you look through the booklet and you look at the great pictures. You know, obviously that Derek Souza obviously helped you with. It's a lot of time and effort gone into the actual artwork because it is a piece of art. At the end of the day, it's not just a load of songs to throw out there for. You know, hoping that millions of people listen to it, you know.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, it is. I mean, the whole album, here it is again, everyone. There you go, trying to zoom in. The whole album's kind of a bit of a journey. Obviously, it's been a journey trying to make it. The reason it's been 7 years is because obviously life happens and financially, you know, it's a lot of money to put into something to create it. Finding the right musicians, you know, everything else that comes along the way. But I'm really proud of it. And like you say, Chris, it's meant to be listened to as a piece of art, you know, as a little story in itself. And Derek D'Souza did that with the pictures too. You know, it's almost like we went on a journey because obviously the front of the CD is me kind of in the Daydreams. And then the back of it is the nighttime, which is meant to be like the stars aspect, you know. So the whole thing has had a lot of thought behind it, and I didn't want it to just be not heartfelt and not have any substance. So the whole thing, like you say, Chris, is a story, and it's meant to be like a journey, you know.
I mean, I obviously I got the tracks sent to me, which was amazing. But I think that just goes back to what Chris was saying. I had the track on file to be listened to, and I was like, I need this physical copy. And I think that's, you know, what makes sort of music great is just, you know, especially if it's something you love, having that physical thing. But tell us about Derek D'Souza then, because obviously he's, you know, iconic photographer across the music industry, from taking pictures of the jam on screen to obviously everything he's done in between, and then obviously having him involved in taking the pictures and being part of the album cover. Tell us a bit about that.
Oh, he's amazing, Del. He's a really, really good friend as well. What a great guy. I don't know if either of you have met him yet, but when you do, he's lovely. I met him actually in DC Fontana. So I was doing a gig in London, and Derek turned up, was taking photographs. Obviously, I had no clue who he was at that time. And he really enjoyed the band. And then we started to chat. And then I found out, obviously, he was a legend, and he'd taken lots of snaps of the jam and Paul Weller and all sorts of different bits and bobs, and he's such a great photographer. So he actually did the photos for my first EP, This Is Turner. We did them at the King's Arms, Chris, in Salford, in the little room upstairs, Derek was slumming it there a little bit coming down from his London shots. And we had a little room upstairs and took the photos for that, which was great, and he did a wonderful job. And then I said to him, if they ever do an album, would you be up for, you know, I'd love you to do it. There's nobody else that I would have wanted to do it other than Derek, and he said that he'd love to, so that's how it all went. And obviously it was lockdown and COVID, so it was a real kind of battle to get together to do, you know, the pictures, so we had to kind of time it right. But we did them in Heaton Park on a really nice day, so it all worked out really well. But he's a great photographer and a great friend. So
that's good. Yeah. I mean, I've spoken to him sort of through Facebook, never actually met him, but yeah, just to have someone like that on board is just great, and it, you know, it brings it to life as well. And you can just name drop the odd time if you need to, you know what I mean?
So like, Derek did it. No, he's a really, really humble guy. He's lovely, and as I say, he's a fantastic photographer, and there was nobody else in my mind who wanted to kind of be part of it, you know. So yeah. Do you want to go for a question, Chris? I think I'm taking over here.
No, I was just going to say, obviously on the album, obviously the title track, we obviously before I was treated to the video of that. Was it the Elizabeth Gaskell House?
Yes, yeah, that's the first kind of airing that song had. It was Elizabeth Gaskell House, which was a brilliant venue to play. It's like literally a little sitting room, and the atmosphere was just amazing. It's only an intimate gig, there was only about 30-40 people, but there was a massive grand piano, so I had a girl called Nikki Turner playing the songs, and the whole kind of vibe in there was just amazing. But literally that song was like, I've just wrote it, should we play it? And it's like, come on then. So that was the kind of first airing that song we got, which was great. And then obviously for the album, I worked with a fantastic guy called John Ellis, who played the piano for Daydreams and Stars.
Cool. So obviously lockdown, everybody was struggling to get their music out, and tell us a bit about how it was difficult to try and piece it together. I know you sort of said that briefly a minute before, but it's been 7 years. The lockdown was only a couple of years ago, so what's the excuse? And did the lockdown obviously would it have come out before the lockdown, or did it just come out I think at the right time?
Yeah, it was meant to come out before the lockdown. Obviously then it had a release date. I think it was it's going to come out in December 2020. But obviously with COVID and everything else, I couldn't get together with the lads. I was finishing everything off by myself. Obviously money as well to pay for the studio sessions and different bits and bobs. But I'm kind of glad, like you've just said, because it gave me that extra time to listen back in the mixes, to see if I was completely happy with them, to think of different little elements I could put in. For example, on Masquerade, it didn't have that kind of Spanish, the flamenco intro. And I thought there's something missing, there's something definitely lacking from this song, because I love Tarantino and all them other bits and Nancy Sinatra. And then I thought of this kind of introduction, which obviously Andy B played from the Electric Stars. So I'm kind of glad in a way I had the extra time. Although sometimes it can drag on too long, can't it? When you're working on something, you need to know when to kind of say, right, I've done it now,
We wouldn't have had clock as well, I suppose, then, if or the clock. So it's sort of worked out now. So big question is, when are we getting to see and hear the album live? Because I know you were out a few weeks back with the Stars, weren't you?
Yes, we did the Foodies Festival, which was ace, because that's the first gig I've done in like 2 years. I was a bit nervous actually. I was like, what am I doing? I can't remember what I do now. But it was a great day, really, really good to be back up there. But I'm obviously in the middle of kind of planning a little few live gigs. I have actually got one in December with Stuart Wolfenden from Dead Man's Shoes, which is brilliant. His band's it's one of my favourite films as well. So I'm like, I've got this gig at Night and Day Cafe, which is a legendary, as Chris knows, it's a great venue in Manchester. Yes, so I'm doing that gig. I'm doing a bizarrely guesting with another band called Heavy Soul, and I'm doing the Paul Weller Day at the Cavern Club. Don't know if you two know about that one.
No.
So they're doing an acoustic set, and I'm jumping on doing a few kind of harmonies and different bits with them. So that should be good. That's in November. But I am in the middle of kind of getting back together with the band again, and looking at more live dates and touring the album very soon. So I'll keep you posted.
Good stuff. And I suppose it's nice now that we can actually get, I know there's still restrictions in some places, but it's nice that we can actually, I think lockdown was great for music listeners, because a few people brought out, the Electric Stars album, for example, came out, yours came out, there's a few others came out, and it kind of made lockdown better because you could sit and properly listen to it without any distractions.
Lockdown was great. We had new Rolling Stones songs, we had new Bob Dylan songs. What more do you want?
Exactly.
So what's great now is things are opening up. We can get out and actually go and see. I'm bad. I know loads of bands, listen to loads of music, and never get the chance to go out and see them. So this year and the next few years, that's my. I'm going to make a point of going and see these. So definitely let us know if. Keep us up to date, and I'll definitely come out to one of your gigs. Yeah.
I think if anything, if COVID and lockdown has taught us anything, it's basically, if you've got something in you that you want to do it. Kind of live for the day really, and get things done. And obviously I'm so glad that I managed to achieve this, and I feel particularly proud that I did it in lockdown. I managed to kind of finish them 2 songs off and complete it. But that's not just it now. Obviously I've got that when I was off in lockdown, I managed to pen and write a few more songs. So I've got another little EP that's in the pipeline at the moment. So that's going to be really interesting. And there's a range of different things. It's quite experimental again, a little bits of Joni Mitchell-esque vibes, and also kind of Billie Holiday as well, a little bit of that in there. So I'm excited about that as well. I'm working on some new music.
Well, that's
is that,
good,
that an exclusive there? Do we have
that's an exclusive? You've got an exclusive, Johnny. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't leave us waiting 7 years again, Luke.
Oh, yeah. No, Chris, believe me, it's not going to be 7 years. Jeez. No, I'm going to be a bit more quicker off the mark. It will definitely not be 7 years again. I'm hoping to maybe get some new stuff out, obviously, end of this year, if not early next year. But yeah, I want to kind of give this album a chance to flourish as much as it can, you know, and spread the word, really, and get the songs out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anybody who picks it up, I mean, they're going to love it, aren't they, Chris? You know what I mean? There's not a bad
no, it's not a bad song. Like I say, it is a piece of art that, you know, everything that comes with it, the album, the pictures, the songs, just everything, the arrangements, even, the musicians you got with you are talented guys, because there's some absolutely amazing piece of work on there.
Mm-hmm. Let me just give them a shout out, actually, because there's so many people who've helped. But obviously the band, Albert, Dan and Ben, and then I had people such as I mentioned, John Ellis, Nicky Turner on piano, Andy B on the flamenco guitar, and have I missed then? Craig Barry on drums, and obviously Mike Vindici played a lot of instruments, and Eve Altana. So like Chris said, without them, you know, I couldn't have achieved this. So they're absolutely brilliant musicians and friends. So I'm forever grateful.
Just thought so obviously you work with all these different producers and that. Is that something you think you'll do again, or are you going to stick to the one? Like, I think,
I think it can. Obviously, it could have been a total disaster, but I do feel like it's worked out well. You know, in terms of the album has different vibes and different tracks, but they all kind of fit together. And each producer has brought out something a little bit different in me, and my writing or my singing. But I am thinking for this next one, possibly working with Mike Vindici, obviously, again. Mike's a really old friend. We've worked together lots in the past, so I'm thinking maybe doing, because he did some of the more experimental songs on the album, which is where I'm kind of going next. So it'll probably be more with Mike Vindici, and maybe a little bit with Dean as well at Vibe. Each one of them are brilliant, so, you know, I do like the fact that I've worked with different people, so we'll see.
Yeah, keeps your options open, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about Miss You, without getting upset, because I know that's sort of dedication to your father.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that and why that's sort of more. I think listening to that, you can feel that real emotion and love for obviously someone you've missed, and we can all relate to that, can't we, in some way or another? So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, obviously, my dad, as I've mentioned loads, it was a massive inspiration to me when I was younger, and he loved music and he had a great voice. He was fantastic, but he he missed his way, and he never got the opportunity to do it properly. So he always encouraged me. And as I mentioned, he used to play Billy Fury and Buddy Holly in the car. And at age 6, I'd be singing all the words and know, you know, all the little melodies. And he was great, and he encouraged me and inspired me to go and study it, which I did. Obviously, when I left school, I did musical theatre, joined bands, did loads of different things. And my dad was always a massive inspiration. And then sadly, obviously, my dad died of stomach cancer, which was a huge blow for us in the family because he wasn't very old. And I didn't have much time with him. I was only 24 when he died. So he left a massive, massive hole. You know, time does kind of ease it. But it's always with you, you know. I feel like I didn't have the chance to know him properly, but I'm grateful for the 24 years that I've got, and the fact that he was so encouraging and he believed in me. And this song is all about that, really, just them feelings. I mean, we've all felt it, haven't we? You know, we've all felt grief in one way or another. So it's all about missing that person, and how, although time heals, you know, you never really get over it. It's always there, but, you know, they're always with you. But like I say, I wanted to put a bit of my dad on the album, something that I hope he'd be proud of. And I wanted to dedicate it to him as well. So there's a little dedication in there to my dad too.
Well, one thing's for sure anyway, you're definitely carrying on the torch of what he taught you anyway. So I'll say for sure he'd be proud of you and obviously this album and everything you've done.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, like I say, obviously my mum's great. My mum's still around, so she's been brilliant as well. But she can't sing, unlike my dad. I won't say she sounds like a cat, but my dad loved the music and the singing, and he's missed forever. But like I say, I just hope that he will be proud if he could do that song. So
yeah, I think he certainly will be, and it's nice that you were able to do that and leave that little message or that little dedication in there for him. Like it's so thing, isn't it?
Definitely.
Well, the thing is, that's one of them songs that there'll be loads of people out there that when they listen to that track, they'll take their own feelings from it for similar sort of situations.
Totally.
It's one of them songs. It's obvious what the song is meant. So it's people will take their own thing from it.
Somebody actually said to me, Chris, somebody had listened to it and they just lost the dog. The dog had been put to sleep, and they were really upset listening to it because it obviously reminded them of their dog, and I totally, I'm an animal lover, so I completely understand that grief. And like you say, people can take it through any meaning or situation or loss, and like I say, it's one of the ones that seems to have connected with people where they've cried listening to it, which, as I said before, I don't want people weeping when they listen to my music, but it's nice that it kind of touches them and, they can relate to what I'm singing.
Well, music's made for all emotions, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's credit to the album because every single track you can take something away that's relatable to your life in some way. Innit? I mean, every single track, on it, apart from the clock, I mean, that's a bit weird, innit? You can't, but it works. It works and it's brilliant. Yeah. But every single track on there, and Miss You especially is definitely, we cannot, there's something in there that someone will relate to, and that's what's great what you've done, because I mean music's like telling a story, isn't it? And if you're interested in the story, then you sit up and listen, won't you? And that's exactly what you've done there. So what do you think, Chris? I think it's bang on. There's nothing much more to say, but it's just amazing, isn't it? You can't even put into words.
Thank you. Yeah, I think with my songs, obviously I try to create stories, and sometimes, without sounding too crazy, I'll dream of a song. I'll have little lyrics in my mind when I'm dreaming. And if I wake up in time and I can remember it, I'll run downstairs. Jason will think I'm going insane, but I'll run downstairs and kind of record it into my phone or write the idea down. Sometimes these ideas just come to you in the oddest times when you're driving in the car and you think, oh, I've got a melody, and then you're driving and you're trying to, do a voice recording. Not that I'm driving and being distracted, mind. But yeah, I try to create stories, and that's what I've done with this album,
Yeah, definitely.
All it is now is basically trying to spread the word and awareness of the album. It's really hard sometimes when you're independent and you're doing, obviously, a lot of it by yourself with the promo. But I'm determined to give it the best shot I can, and get the songs out there. And yeah, let's see where it goes, but I don't want to sit on it for 7 years again, as I've mentioned, and it will be, new music will be there quicker than 7 years.
Well, I think next time I'll see you then, Lou, we'll be at the gig in December, night and day, because
yes,
I've actually spoke to Stuart Wolfenden as well, and I'm going to do a review of his album, and also I'm going to do an interview with him before the night and day gig as well. So I'll probably have a quick chat with you as well beforehand.
Brilliant,
supporting that gig, so that'll be another exclusive for Mathews Generation.
Excellent, lots of exclusives today, Johnny.
Yes.
If you just want to finish us off, Louise, tell us what's next and all that. I know you sort of brushed on it anyway, but
yeah. As I say, at the moment, I'm just obviously looking at some gig dates, trying to do a little tour of the album, obviously COVID permitting when we can. I have got that date with Stuart Wolfenden, which will be a fantastic night at Night and Day Cafe, and that is on the 15th of December. So that's going to be amazing. And I will be playing the whole album there, obviously, which will be great. If anybody would, shameless plug time, are you ready? If anybody would like a copy of the album, you can get one off my website, which is www.thisisturner.com. Or if you message me on Facebook, you can grab one there as well. So yeah, new music as well on the way. As I say, I've written lots of songs in lockdown, so I'm going to start working on them very soon. So thank you so much, guys, for having me on. I've really enjoyed it and I really appreciate it.
thanks for coming on, obviously, Louise and Chris. Been awesome.
Have a good day, guys. See you in a bit.
Yeah. Cheers.
There's not much you can do. You beat your head against the wall till you are black and blue, and the clocks won't stop. You left before the summertime, a gracious